I'll introduce myself officially. I'm Dara Johnson with Access. I'm joined here by our Program Awards Administrator, PCG, who will introduce themselves in a moment. Thank you for joining us. Next slide. So we'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
That brings it to me. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Busby. I'm a Communications Manager with Public Consulting Group, or PCG. I'm also joined by some members of our technical and program teams who helped develop this award program. So as it says here, PCG is a public sector consulting firm that works with health, education, and human services agencies around the country. So Access is contracted with us to help administer these program awards. So part of our role is providing technical assistance to applicants throughout the application, award, and payment process.
Peter. So just to do a quick overview of the program awards to level set, I just reminded folks as we were getting started that there is a recorded webinar on our webpage for the session we had last week, which was specific to the eligible activities and requirements of the grant. But we have roughly $40 million to award to strengthen home and community-based services. We're using the funds from the American Rescue Plan. If you're interested in more detail, you can go to the link that's in the PowerPoint specific to our plan that we submitted to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. The goals of the program awards are to enhance member experience, health, and safety of people receiving home and community-based services. We actually have the application period is now live, and today's session will be largely focused on the GrantsConnect system, but the important date for you is that those applications are due by May 16th, excuse me. Next slide. Other important dates, if your project or program is selected, the award notifications will be sent in July. Payments will be received in August. These are one-time payments. And then the other key important date, particularly as you're planning out your application, you want to make sure that all funds have to be expended by September 2024. We do not have the option to extend that period. So you want to make sure in your planning that you're accounting to have the funds expended prior to September 2024. Next slide, and I think I will turn it back over to you, Peter.
Yep, this comes back to me. So as we've reviewed, you need to use GrantsConnect to apply for this particular award program. So we're just going to run through today some of the basics of using the platform. So we'll just start by talking about how you can access GrantsConnect support, just in case there are any issues with the steps we're going to outline in the rest of the presentation. So there are two easy ways to access support. You can click the links at the bottom of the sign-in page. You can see that in that top screenshot. Or after you sign in, you can just click the question mark icon next to your name. You see that in that bottom screenshot. So the first thing you'll have to do is sign up for a GrantsConnect account. You must create an account in order to apply for the award program. When you click the GrantsConnect link in the emails or on the award webpage, you'll be taken to the GrantsConnect site. You can see sort of the first screen here. You're just going to go ahead and click sign up in that top right-hand corner. After you submit your information, GrantsConnect will just ask for some basic information like your name and your email address. After you submit that, you'll receive a confirmation email at the email address you provided. That email will include an activation link for your account. These activation links, they're only good for 24 hours, so it's best to complete your registration right away if you can. If you don't see the email, first thing you should do is just go ahead and check your spam folder. Sometimes it gets routed there by mistake. If the email is also not in your spam folder, you can resend the verification email by clicking the link at the bottom of the sign-in page. You can see it boxed there in red. You can toggle between the sign up and the sign in pages using the tabs in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So once you sign in, you'll see this introduction page, just gives a short description of the award program and then gives you the option to start a new application. To start a new application, simply click that button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. This will take you to an eligibility form that will confirm you are eligible to apply. Once you complete that form, you can then start the application proper. So the application sections are as follows. There are 6 in total. The first is organization and experience. It covers information about your organization, including your programs and services, key personnel and their role in your proposed project, and a communications or marketing strategy to promote your project to people who could benefit from it. Next is the project overview. Here you'll provide a short description of your project and indicate which of the award goals it will achieve and the needs it addresses. You'll also list any key milestones and deliverables, how your project fits with your organization's larger strategy, and any potential risks and how you will address them. Section 3 is your project impact. Here you'll provide some more detail on the people and areas that will benefit from your project. There's also space to list any organizations you'll partner with as part of this project, if that's applicable to you. Section 4 covers your budget. You'll provide a detailed description of all your project costs, including projected start and end dates and total costs for any milestone, phase, or deliverable you listed as part of your project overview. Section 4 also includes space for you to provide a sustainability plan for how you'll continue this project after funding ends. Section 5 is your project timeline. Here you can provide any additional details on the milestones or the deliverables you laid out as part of your project overview and budget. And you can list the start and end dates for your overall project. Section 6 covers reporting outcomes. Here you'll explain the target outcome for your project that you will be responsible for reporting on. You'll also explain your method for collecting and measuring data related to those outcomes. So that's a general overview of the application itself. Your application will autosave as you complete it. You can check the save icon in the bottom left just to confirm that it is saving. If you leave, of course, the auto-saved information will be available to you when you return to finish the application. Let's suppose you already have started an application. You left and returned. The next time you log in, that welcome page will include this application you've been working on with the option to edit. You can just see that again boxed here in red. So as I said, there are 6 major sections of the application, not counting the instructions and the final attestations. You can navigate between these sections using the tabs on the top line navigation bar. Depending on the size of your browser window, some of those tabs could be cut off. If they are, just click More on the right-hand side, and you'll see the rest of those tabs. Certain questions do include help messages to provide more information or context about that question. You can view these help messages by hovering your cursor over the question mark icon next to that particular question. So just thinking about the things you're going to fill out, the application includes the following question types. There are fill in the blanks, multiple choice, drop downs, short answer questions, and table entry questions. If you've ever filled out an online form before, you should be familiar with all these questions. They're pretty clear. We'll go over just the short answer and table entry questions on the next slide, since parts of those interfaces are specific to GrantsConnect itself. So here are the short answer questions. This is just a basic example. These questions include the maximum word count, your current word count, and controls for resizing the answer window if necessary. So if you do want to resize that window so you can see your entire answer, simply click and drag on that window control in the bottom right. It's just those 2 lines you see there for you. The application, as I said, includes a few questions that require you to enter information into a table. To add a new row, you just click Add New at the top of that table. You can also view, edit, or delete an entry you've already added using the controls to the right of that particular line. The budget table, another table in the application that uses its own interface. So here you can see one example of an entry in the budget table. The number of entries in your budget table is determined by how many milestones, phases, or deliverables you entered in your project overview. So if part of your project overview, you entered 3 milestones or deliverables, you then have 3 entries to fill in your budget table. The name of that entry will also auto-populate from the project overview. The total cost field, you can see it there on the right, will also auto-populate based on the costs you enter for the other cost categories. So once you've filled everything out, you've answered all the questions on the application, you can sign and submit at the bottom of the attestations page to submit your application. From there, you'll be taken to a signature page. You can type, upload, or draw your signature, whatever you prefer. Once you've signed your application, you are free to submit it. You should then receive a confirmation email after submitting your application. So let's suppose you try to submit, but there are errors. If there are any errors in your application, things like missing fields or incorrectly formatted responses, when you try to submit your application, a red exclamation mark will appear beside the section tab where there are errors. So if there are errors in your organization and experience tab, you'll see that exclamation point next to it. When you navigate to that particular section, you'll see a list of errors at the top. You can see that here. Just correct any errors you find, and then you should be able to resubmit your application. So you can view all your applications, whether you submitted it already or you're still working on it, in your My Applications page. You can reach the My Applications page by clicking View All My Applications on that welcome screen after you log in. From there, you can edit any unsubmitted applications, view the status of your submitted applications, or complete any revisions that the review team may have requested. So this is just a quick view of your application statuses. You can see they're listed right next to the application, or there's a larger one up there in the top right-hand screen. There are 6 main statuses you might see. Draft, you started your application, but you haven't submitted it. Awaiting review, you've submitted the application, but the review team has not gotten to it yet. In progress, the review team is working on their review. On hold, the reviewer has submitted a request for revision to you, clarify something in your application. Approved, your application has been approved. There may or may not be awards or payments at this stage. And then finally, declined, your application has been declined. So as I said on that previous slide, a reviewer may request a revision to your application. They do that for a few reasons. They might do it to ensure the information in your application matches the eligibility you formed out or what Access has on file. They might do it to ensure you agreed to all the attestations, or they might do it to give you an opportunity to clarify anything that might be unclear in your application. If a reviewer requests revisions, your application status will show as on hold. You'll also receive an automated email letting you know about these revisions. You can respond to revision requests from the My Application page. Just select Revise Form at the top to make your revisions, and then you can resubmit. So that takes us through really the main portions of GrantsConnect. It's a fairly intuitive system. You can also find a guide on using GrantsConnect on the resources on the program webpage. That includes a bit more specific information we didn't go over here, things like how to add extra users to your account that might not be applicable to everybody. So part of PCG's role is to provide technical assistance to applicants throughout this application process. So if you have any questions that the FAQ or the GrantsConnect guide or the webpage can't answer for you, please do reach out to us directly. You can call or email us using the contact information listed here. It's also, of course, on the grant webpage if you can't remember it. Whichever one you prefer, phone, email, it's fine. So at this point, we'd like to open things up to questions from you all. Obviously, we have quite a few attendees here today, but we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. I appreciate some of you have done so already. One of us will call on you, probably me, and at that point, you will have the option to unmute your microphone and ask your question. You can also add your questions in the FAQ section. I see some people have done that as well. Thank you. and we will either answer it there or read it out and answer it live. Just to be clear, save everybody some time, we will not answer any questions about whether or not your specific project is eligible, right? You should review the webpage and FAQ documents to make that determination yourself. We'll also update the FAQ on the award webpage periodically. So any questions asked here today will be saved and used to develop the FAQ and other support materials. So now I will open it up to questions. I'll start with the people who raise their hands, and we'll sort of toggle back between that and the FAQ as necessary. So Dawn Witt, I think you were the first person to raise your hand. Please ask your question whenever you're ready. Dawn, I see you unmuted, but I can't hear you. I assume other people can't either. Okay, Dawn, I'm gonna move down the list. Of course, you'll always have a chance later on to ask your question. If you're having trouble with your microphone too, you can add it to the FAQ and we'll make sure we address it there. So that brings us to Nick or Nellie Surgener. If you could ask your question.
We're not hearing anything, but you should be able to unmute your line from your end if you do have a question. We granted you permission to go ahead and unmute.
I'll keep moving down the list. I know they raised their hand towards the beginning, so maybe they just stepped away for a second. Again, we'll always circle back. You can try again later. Nanette Nunez, you are now have the option to unmute, ask your question if you have one.
I don't have a question at this time.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Nanette. Megan Yu, if you have a question, it is now your turn. Again, Megan Yu, you should have the option to unmute now if you would like to ask your question. Okay, so I will start going through a couple of the questions in the FAQ then as well. Again, if you don't have a question, you can always feel free to lower your hand and then I won't call on you, save everybody some time. So a few remaining questions in the chat. So what is the average word count in each of the sections? I don't know offhand. Does anyone from our technical team know what the general length of the questions might be?
This is Monica. It's different for every question.
Do we have any idea what like the top end might be?
I think if I remember correctly, there's one that has like 1,000 words.
Okay.
And then the smallest one is like 250.
Gotcha. So that gives you a general idea of the range. So.
And Peter,
Yes.
Peter, could we talk about, there's a couple of different questions about, this is Dara, on whether or not they can see the entire application before they actually go in. So if we could address that, because it should also address the word count question as well, that what they can see ahead of time.
Sure. Monica, would you be kind enough to answer that as well?
I believe that you can download a PDF version of the application before you go in and fill it out. So you can have a sense of what the questions are and, work through them before you put it into the system.
Cool. You will presumably need a GrantsConnect account prior to downloading the application.
Yes, you have to go into GrantsConnect to download.
So Suzanne Legander added a question of whether GrantsConnect has other grants we can apply for and see as options. Using the link for this particular grant will take you directly to the Access grant page. So at this point right now, Access does not have any other grants through GrantsConnect. So this is the one to apply for using that method. Jessica Irwin asked if we have more than one provider type, do we want you to list them all? So I think either Access or one of our technical team members can give a better answer, but I do know there is space in there to list other related organizations as well, if that's what you refer to. Access, anything to add for that?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. It's one application per organization, and then there'll be an opportunity for the applicant, the organization, to spell out all of the different applicable provider IDs that may be inclusive in the project or program that's being proposed.
So Sadama Flaherty asked, if an application is denied, can you resubmit it? Relatedly, if the application needs to be edited once it's submitted, can we make edits after it has been submitted? So I answered this a little bit in the revisions tab. Once you submit your application, it's pretty much locked in from your end. If one of our reviewers requests revisions, you can then go in and make those revisions as applicable and then resubmit it. So it's pretty much exclusively to clarify things that are unclear or don't align with Access information. So please do double check your application to make sure everything's correct prior to submitting it.
Hi, Peter. I'm sorry. I was unable to mute myself when you were asking me to ask my question. This is Megan Yu.
Oh, Megan, sure.
Okay, so my question is, my project is starting prior to when the awards are given. Can I still apply for this grant?
So Access, if you'd like to go ahead and answer this one.
Sure, we're responding to this question, updated FAQs that will be on the website either today or tomorrow. The question is no, you cannot ask for a program award that relates to costs or services that you've been providing prior to the award.
Okay, but if so I could either delay my project until after the award occurs. Is that possible? Or, I mean, if the first part of it starts, so it's like a 9-month process, could I apply for the last half of it?
So as I think Peter shared early on, we're not going to make any recommendations as to whether or not your project could get awarded or not, or if it's eligible or not. We just need to let the evaluation process play through. So if you feel like it's something that meets the eligible activities, then go ahead and submit an application. I just will say the award cannot go to cover any costs prior to the award of the project or program.
Thank you.
So Christy Tedonio, I know you asked just to see the technical assistance slide. It's up here on the screen again. I'll just leave it here for now. I think we all sort of understand the question and answer process at this point. So I'll go through some more people who raise their hands. So Melissa Elliott, you are next up. If you'd like to go ahead and ask your question, you should be able to unmute now.
Yeah, my question is about the budget and the milestone. So is it possible, if the work is continuous, like across all of our milestones, can we just divide the budget equally, or there has to show differentiation based on the tasks during that milestone?
So I will defer to our technical team here. I mean, they're more familiar with what the form actually looks like in the review process. So I will ask one of them to weigh in here.
This is Monica. There is no like prescriptive way of how to fill out the budget and milestones. It's however you define a milestone for the project is how you can fill it out. Your perspective could be, what it is for your project, and it will be evaluated as such.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That brings us to Nancy Poe. You are next up if you'd like to ask your question.
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, Hillary Cummings, you are next up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Hillary, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. I think a few people have had the same issue. When I log in, I go directly to the My Applications page. I don't have a welcome screen to have the start a new application.
Yep. So I think it's just an old link is basically the case. If you reach out to our technical assistance page, they should be able to handle this for you. This is
Okay.
an error we're fairly familiar with. It's just an artifact of GrantsConnect.
Okay.
If the technical team has any more specific information to help out Hillary and anyone else who's having this issue.
If you guys encounter this issue, you can also clear your cache or just try logging in from a different browser, and that'll sometimes fix the issue, but you can reach out to us if that doesn't work.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll do a couple more from the FAQ now. So one anonymous attendee asked about the relationship between the project overview options as it pertains to the auto population within the budget worksheet. So again, my understanding is the way it works is depending on how many project milestone, you can pick between a milestone, a deliverable, or what's the third one? I apologize for forgetting, but when you pick them, you give them a title and that number. So let's say I do 4 in the title, then auto populates to the budgeting worksheet. From there, you can then outline what costs are associated with that milestone or deliverable. The form will add them all up to you and get your total cost. So basically, when you break down your milestones in your project overview, they then directly follow over to the budgeting worksheet. Technical team, anything to add to my explanation there?
It's just meant to be easier to fill out so that you can, identify the milestones in the project overview section, and it auto populates to the budget so that it's, you don't have to do it again, basically.
So I see a few questions as well about the posting the actual slides to the website as opposed to just the recording. I assume we can do that. I'll create a PDF of the presentation. We can add it under that resource sections as well when we post the actual recording if people would like both. So Clarice Begay asked, are they allowed to upload documents as part of their application? Technical team, do we have an answer here?
I believe that the only uploading of documents is if you are partnering with another organization. We do require letter of participation from that organization that needs to be uploaded, and it has to be 1 letter per organization that you partner with. And then I believe the system, if you have more than, I don't remember exactly what the number is, but if you have a number, more than a certain number of personnel that will, participate in the project, it will also like upload a document where it continues the list of personnel. But other than that, no.
Okay,
You
so I
can,
see-
Monica. Oh, is it accurate to say, Monica, that you could write your response on a Word document and copy and paste that into the application?
Yes, that can, it's very friendly to copy paste, yes.
So I see a few people asking, again, questions about, when they log in, they just go straight to the My Applications page. They don't see that welcome screen. I'll just reiterate again, if you're having any issues like that, you can reach out to us on the technical assistance contact info you see here. Or as Sasha suggested, you can also try clearing your browser cache or opening the application in a different browser. Those also might help. So try those first. If they don't work, reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer those. There are questions about the reporting requirements afterwards. You can find information on those reporting requirements in the other FAQ and the award webpage. So just check there. And if you don't have answers to your specific questions about that, you can always reach out to us if you don't find what you need there. Same regards partial funding. There are answers to partial funding in the FAQ as well. So you should be able to find your answer there on the webpage. So a couple of people are asking if they can request funds for both infrastructure and programmatic projects. So I will leave this one up to Access to answer.
You can only submit one application. However, it could be possible, depending upon your project or program, that you have both infrastructure or programmatic related activities or costs. So it's possible to have that, but you only submit one application.
And just to be clear, if you are denied for one project, people are also asking if they can submit a second project. Dara, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's one application per organization, no second chances.
That's correct.
Okay, Sabrina asked, basically, the organization is looking to add new services to an existing program. Is that an acceptable use for this particular award? Again, your program can expand on your existing services. However, you cannot use award funds to supplant funding from other sources. So it needs to be a legitimate expansion, not displacing existing funds. Okay, I will turn to a few more people then who have their hands raised now. Deborah Belknap, if you'd like to go ahead and ask your question, you should be able to unmute.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Deborah.
All right, it's just I didn't get an application number, so I'm not sure how to go get that. I did reach out to your tech support team and left a message, but I haven't heard anything back. So I'm wondering what I can do if I didn't receive it or didn't see it, how I can go back and find that. So because now I can't go in and do anything because it asked for my application number and I never got anything. I don't know if it's called the application number, whatever number is used for this grant.
Deborah, I will make sure we follow up with you, but if our technical team has any, advice they can offer right now, we appreciate it.
It sounds like she's having the same issue as everyone else. You shouldn't have an application number yet if you haven't started your application. But if you want to try to log in from a different browser, that should help. Otherwise, I will be replying to the messages here in just a moment.
Yeah, I did try to start the application process, but of course it wants me to identify my application number and I cannot. So I could be putting the cart before the horse. I don't know. So
there wouldn't be an application number, but I will help you with that issue offline.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, Celestine Asoda, if you'd like to ask your question, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, yeah, the question I have is, are you able to send us the link to the for the application?
So we've included it in a few emails already. You can always go to the award webpage and it should be right there.
Yeah.
Lupita Zuniga, if you'd like to ask your question.
Hi, thank you for taking our question. We're new to submitting applications. Can you define administrative costs, please? We want to remodel a kitchen our members use to make food for our cafe. Does the hiring a project manager for the remodel, is that included in the project cost or administrative cost?
So Access, if you could provide some insight in admin costs. I think we also have a line about them in our FAQ as well. Lupita, if you want to check there after this.
Okay. Yeah, I would think, Lupita, that if you could justify that they are part of the cost of the program or project, that administrative costs are more specific to costs as an agency, right? So like, I don't know, like if you had additional staffing costs, probably a good example, but if you had some administrative costs as the agency to implement the program or project, that would be administrative costs versus something that may be a cost that's associated because of the new program or project. Does that help?
No.
Okay. Yeah, you have to look at the guidance, but it kind of all depends upon your project. So it's kind of a little hard to answer specifically, but we do provide some guidance in the FAQs around what are types of administrative costs.
Okay, our project manager would be the one overseeing the remodel. Finding the architect, finding the, the people who put together a kitchen.
Yeah, I can't really advise you on your application specifically, but take a look at, just do your best, in filling out the application and take a look at the guidance that's provided.
Okay, thank you.
Doug Arnett, you should be able to unmute now if you'd like to ask your question.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Peter. I'm considering a vehicle expansion project, and if awarded, the funds would be spent during the period, but there's some delay on manufacturing vehicles, and they may not be delivered until after September 30th, 2024, and just wanted to inquire if that would be allowable.
I think, Peter, we may have to take it back and just double check with the finance folks so we can provide the right guidance on that.
Excellent.
So, Doug, just to make sure I understand your question, you're saying the cost would have been incurred, so money would have been paid out prior to September 2024, but your receipt of the vehicles may not happen until after that.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, we just want to double check on that one. Doug, so we'll have to kind of put that in the future FAQ.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I don't want to give you wrong guidance. Good question.
Okay, so I will go through a few in the FAQ section now as well. So Krista Waymere asked, Monica, you mentioned that download to PDF method of viewing the application. Do you by any chance know where that would be on GrantsConnect when they log in, where people could find that?
That would probably be better a Sasha question.
All right, Sasha, any chance you have an answer offhand?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure, no problem. I know you're typing another answer at the time. So basically, people just want to know, okay, if they want to download the application to a PDF to look things over before they apply, where would they find that in GrantsConnect?
If you once you log in and create your application, there's a download button on the right-hand side of the screen. It's close to the top.
So just once they're in the application, top right-hand side of the screen?
Yes, I do suggest that. Well, if it's not necessary for you to print the application, I suggest just looking through it on the website, because the character limits won't show up when you print the app. I'm sorry, when you download the application. That makes sense.
Mhm. So Jenny Halbrudder asked about salary and admin costs. So they're 10% of the total budget. So basically the question is if they should include, Jenny, please correct me if I'm wrong, but if they should include salary costs that exceed that 10%, and then we'll sort of reduce it from there, or if they should include just those 10% of budget costs. So Jenny, to answer your question, I believe the application auto populates those 10% administrative costs. So once you input your other total costs, we will then calculate that for you. You don't really have to worry about what amount to enter. Monica, did I characterize that correctly?
Am I on mute? Okay, yes. So I don't fully understand the question, but yes, if you input the administrative cost into the budget table, the system will calculate what percentage of the total was the admin that you put in. So you could see that it was less than 10% or over 10%. I don't know if that's getting to the answer of the question.
I think so, but okay, so just she added another question just to clarify. If we had a cost under salary or admin and it is over 10% of the total, will it tell us it is over this automatically? So again, if it's admin, you're not entering any value anyway, so you don't have to worry about entering something that's over 10%. So Sadama Flaherty, you asked the difference between a deliverable and a milestone. I imagine a deliverable is something you're producing. So like if as part of my program, I'm creating, this might not be relevant, but let's say I'm creating a guidebook. That guidebook would be a deliverable. A milestone would be something more along the lines that you're achieving. So if one of my goals is to serve 50 Access members, that would be a milestone as opposed to a deliverable. Technical team, anything to add to that definition? Was I completely off base?
Yes, and there are definitions of all that in the application, I believe.
I should have just defaulted to that then. So Sadama, check the application. You should find your answers there. So a lot of people are asking about the application ID, sort of finding the application once they log in. Again, if you get in there and you find you don't have the application, reach out to our technical team, try to clear your cache. That usually can fix it, or try in a different browser. So your application ID really only comes up after you've started the application. If you can't find the questionnaire to get started, you can reach out to us, or again, try a different browser to try to clear your cache. Okay, I will get back now to a few people raising their hands. So Dot Cret, you are up if you'd like to ask your question.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Dot.
Okay, I'm still really confused on the 10% and the staff cost. At the last webinar, they made a very big point that it was 10% for admin only. But I'm wondering, because in the chat room, they talked about program staff. So I would think that admin staff would be like bookkeeping, office management, that sort of stuff, but program staff is different. And so is there a way to apply for funds to pay for program related staff people?
So Dot, I'll take this one. So it all kind of depends on what program or project you're trying to do. So where the program awards cannot be utilized to offer staff incentives, provide for staff salary increases, or anything like that. You can include staff costs in your admin budget of 10% if there is needed to supplement your staff, for example, or carve out staffing for a specific program or project. So it's one of those things like you can't answer till you know what the specific ask is, and we're not going to try to do that here today. But as far as like using the program awards to support your broader workforce, to retain or recruit, or to increase staff salaries, things like that, no, it cannot be. It's not one of the eligible activities.
What about new staff that would be specifically program related?
I think that's a hard question to ask without understanding what your project or program is. So I think you need to outline what you think based upon the guidance that we've provided.
And I will say that there is a definition of administrative costs in the budget section of the application that outlines very specifically what administrative costs are or include.
The other components that you need to think about, thank you, Monica. The other components to think about is sustainability. There's a definite part in the application where you have to describe the sustainability of the program or project.
Right.
So that's also a critical aspect of it.
Okay, so to try to compile all this then, we are limited to 10% for admin costs, and you have a list of what fills in admin. But if we are starting a new program and need to hire new staff, as long as we can prove sustainability once these program funds end, then we can put in that staff cost. Am I understanding that correctly?
I can't answer that question for you specifically and say, oh yeah, that applies. You have to just look at the guidance, submit your application. I can't offer specific guidance on a specific program or project without letting it vet through the evaluation process.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to ask as generically as possible, but thank you.
Sure, I know. Yeah, it's because one generic answer for one person maybe make perfect sense versus the same generic answer for somebody else that may not make sense given their program or project. So we just want to try to eliminate any unfairness that way and just encourage you to apply, make your best effort based upon the guidance that's been provided, and really talk about sustainability factors will be key.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jenny, sorry we didn't get your question the first time around. Thank you for clarifying. So basically the question boils down to, in the budget section, it's like suppose their project includes portions that they're not asking for access funding for. So let's say their project costs 200,000 and they're asking access for 50,000. Should that budget include the full 200,000 project cost or just the 50,000 they're requesting from access? So, technical team, access, how would you like to handle this?
I'm sorry, Peter, I'm looking for the question to reread it again.
Sure, no problem. It's just at the very bottom of the FAQ section. Do they submit their total budget or just what they're requesting from access?
The budget is specific to the funding that you're requesting under the program award application.
Thank you.
We don't want to know your whole organizational budget. It's specific to the program or project or initiative that you are applying to fund.
So again, project budget, it would be specific to the amount you're requesting from access, not the full budget for the project. We've got one more person, Alex Mills, with their hand raised. Alex, if you would like to answer, or excuse me, ask your question now, you should be able to unmute. Alex, I see you are unmuted, but we cannot hear you. So if you are talking, feel free to add your question to the bottom of the FAQ. I will make sure we get it answered. Okay, we have a few more questions open in the FAQ. Ryan DeForge asks, can you confirm that the budget is limited to 8 entries because they can only specify a max of 8 milestones or deliverables? Is that correct? So Monica or Sasha, is the budget limited to 8 entries?
I believe so. But Sasha, I don't know if you have different information.
That's all we have in there is the ability to enter 8. If you have more, you can reach out and we will figure out a way to help you get those input into the application.
So Adenike Ibiyimi Aluko, I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Will all these answers be provided to us somehow? Yes. Again, we will post an updated FAQ to the award webpage, so you can find all our answers there. How many grants will be awarded? I know, looks like we already answered that question. Dara, I didn't get a chance to see your answer.
Oh, sure. So I just said that we're not determining the total number of awards. We're looking at, we have a finite budget of 40 million, and we're looking at how many can be awarded based upon the evaluation criteria.
So Ryan has another question. They're working with a third party to provide members with telehealth. Would software as a service costs get entered under other costs? So basically, would software costs be considered other costs? I don't know if there's a more specific budget category to add that one to or not. Technical team, any thoughts?
I will say, I mean, there is a space in the budget table to put in notes. And as a person that has reviewed grants for other states, putting in notes of what exactly, like if you're putting in other costs, and it's please put in an explanation so that it makes it clear for the reviewer of what that means.
Yeah, so Ryan, just clarify anything in those notes section, and that should be able to take care of it. So Daniela Craig asked again about partial award funding or denials. Again, this answer is covered in the FAQ on the webpage. If you just check in there, you should be able to find out what you need to know about partial awards. So we have a few more people raising their hands. So we got a few more minutes here. We'll try to get to as many as we can. So Monica Attridge, if you'd like to ask your question.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are, Monica. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. I'm still unclear. One of the things that we thought about submitting is a comprehensive group home improvements project. Can we do something like that, or would a project have to be for just a single group home? And this is a two-part question. So that's the first part. And second part, I'm confused. If we have access IDs for every group home, do we have to input all of those?
So Peter, I'll take this question. Hi, Monica.
Hi.
This is Dara. So the first part of your question is the application does not have to be specific to one group home, but as part of the application, we want you to identify all the applicable provider IDs your organization may have that may be impacted by the application or program or project.
Okay, that makes sense. Great, thank you. That was the right answer, by the way.
Always trying to give you the right one.
Arshdeep Wayrach, if you'd like to ask your question, you should be able to unmute.
I have a question, like if it's contracted with Division of Developmental Disability, like is we going to be still applicable to apply for the grant?
So this is Sarah. All the applicable provider types are listed on the Access webpage, including FAQs and other documents. So it goes by provider type, not which health plan you're contracted with.
Okay, thank you.
Megan Landon, if you'd like to ask your question. Megan, again, I've seen that you've unmuted, but again, we can't hear you. So if you're having trouble just with your microphone, again, please add it to the FAQ section. I will make sure you get an answer. Adenike, do you have another question? Hopefully we can cover it for you as well. Okay, I may have just also forgotten to lower your hand for you. I apologize.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't find the button. That was why the delay. I just wanted to know, I know you mentioned before, but how many characters? Is it each section has the limit to the characters that can be written, or it's consistent throughout the application process?
Sure. So different sections have different word limits. I think the largest is about 1,000 and the shortest is about 250 words. So it varies by section. Again, if you'd like to see all the sections ahead of time, you can download the application as a PDF and they should be listed there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, again, another question about partial funding. We've been over this a couple of times. Please do double check the FAQ. You'll be able to find your answer there on the webpage. So Ryan DeForge asked about outcomes. So you can select from a multiple list of outcomes or add your own, but he's just wondering if they're limited to 3 outcomes in the application or if there can be more. So grant application team, are we limited to 3 outcomes in the application?
So the list of applications that are kind of already there, you can select however many you want from that. And then if you select other, I do believe that for other, there's only 3 options. But if you want to add more than 3, you can reach out to us and we can figure something out. But the idea is that from the list that's already there, you can select however many you want.
Again, question of partial funding. And then Diana asked if there's any place to find, or excuse me, Shaylin Turney asked if there's any place to find additional information about provider types on the Access website. Danielle, looks like you're answering that. So if you'd like to just tell us your answer now, that's fine as well. So Shay, I think Danielle will be answering. Yep, looks like she already took care of that. So you should have your answer there. So that brings us to 1 o'clock. I will turn it over to Access now if there's anything you'd like to add before we go ahead and finish the webinar.
Thanks, Peter. This is Sarah. I just wanted to say one last thing that I've seen some chats come through. There is no fee to apply for the grant. So I don't know where that got started. I just saw a couple things. So just be clear, there is no fee to apply for the grant. Thank you, everybody, for your time today and great questions. Please continue to refer back to the webpage as we'll be uploading a recording of today's presentations, the PowerPoint from each webinar, and also updates to the FAQs. So I would, if you have a question, I would keep going back to the website and then also avail yourselves of the technical assistance from PCG if you can't find your question. So thank you all today. Good luck in your application process, and we look forward to hearing all about the great innovative ideas that you have. Have a good day.